and welcome to the Rolling With series. I'm Will, and with me is the one who plots my destruction,
Sarah.
And today we're looking at Dominion Intrigue. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, Intrigue is a big expansion with a higher focus on player interaction and adds cards with choices as well as hybrid victory point cards. So that's kind of the main thing of this expansion is just the variety of more advanced cards that it provides over the base Dominion, because it is the second thing that came out after the base game.
Yes.
And so there were a lot of cards that just gave you choices between things, something that wasn't, I don't think was in the base game much, if at all.
No.
Where you could choose one of something or two of something. Also, the hybrid victory cards are pretty neat. There's an action victory card, so you can play it as an action. It is still a victory card for anything that might interact with a victory card, but it turns that victory card from being a useless thing in your hand to something useful. There's also a treasure victory card and then another action victory card, so they can do different things.
Yeah, there's even a victory card that's worth different amount of points based on other cards you have picked up to put in your deck at the end of the game. So it's kind of like an evil plot.
Yes.
That you work towards.
Now, there are not a lot of more player interaction cards, but there are, I think I counted four
specific action cards.
Yeah, that are attacks.
Attacks, yeah.
But there are a lot of cards that actually reveal things, and the ones that aren't attacks, you actually reveal from your own hand or from your own deck, and it's always to trigger an action, like some of them are name a card and reveal top of your deck, and if it's that card, you get an effect. So there was a lot more, I just think, general interactivity.
Yes.
Between you, the cards, and other players in Intrigue.
But where you're going to feel the most is when it comes to the choice cards.
Yeah.
Because that's where I played it. Now I have options. I want both of them, or
Right.
I want at least this part of this one, but I'm not going to get it. So I have to make a real good choice as what's the most optimized, because it's right there on the spot, happening in front of you.
Right. It's not just you get everything, you have to make choices. Yeah.
Now, another important thing to point out is the first version of Intrigue had its own starter cards, its own money, its own victory cards, curses, things like that. That's because the first version allowed you and gave rules to how you can extend the game out to 5 and 6 players.
With the base Dominion.
Yes.
Basically, Intrigue was a second base. You could get just that first printing or first edition of Intrigue if you didn't want base Dominion at all. But if you had both, you could play the dreaded 5 or 6 player. I mean, we did not recommend it. We played one 6-player game and it was not worth it.
Yeah, it turned out there's just way too much downtime. Even with the additional player interactions, what happened was that the choice cards slowed people's turns down. And if you're waiting for 5 other people before it gets back to you, you're completely out of the game.
Yeah.
Mentally.
Mentally, yes.
So their next edition of it took that out, added new cards in. So just like the base game, if you have the old version, you might need to pick up the new pack of cards if you can find it. Or if you get for the newest version, then you're fine. But you're not going to get all the base cards that you would have gotten
from the first
edition.
Right. Generally speaking, I don't generally like games that take something out, but honestly, yes, functionally, you can play a 5 or 6 player game. At that point, though, you're better off playing 2 separate games. If you have 2 sets of base cards, you're going to have plenty of kingdom cards to make 2 separate setups, and you're going to have a much more enjoyable game if you just take your 5 or 6 players and split them up. It's just, yeah, better that way.
So that's all the changes. Who would you say this is for?
So this is for anyone who has played base Dominion and is ready to move on to more complicated things, because it does involve like more trashing, which is a concept that can be difficult for some people. All those choices that you have to make, all the attacks, the hybrid cards, that can be a difficult concept as well. I mean, not like greatly more complex, but if Dominion is the base Dominion is the first deck builder you've ever played, this is a great next logical step to just learn more without learning new mechanisms.
Yeah, if base game is the introduction to deck building, Intrigue is the introduction to intermediate gaming.
Yeah.
Because it does ask more of the players in just enough that it's not intimidating.
Right.
But still enough that it's very meaningful.
Right. Now, if you've got experienced gamers who have played other games, they've played other deck builders, and you want to introduce them to Dominion, they've never played Dominion before, Intrigue is a great starting point because there are so many options. They're going to really enjoy the higher player interaction, the choices, all the complexity that comes out, the trashing and things like that. Because they're going to be somewhat familiar with some of these concepts from other games. And so this is a great introduction without, dumping them in the deep end type of thing.
Yes. This just doesn't give you the base stuff. It gives you the base stuff with bells and whistles.
Right. But if you are the owner of Dominion and you have base game and you have Intrigue, you can just take the base cards from Dominion as you would do and just set up with Intrigue cards. But as almost all the rule books, I think all the rule books include, is how to set it up with other expansions. So you can always do mixed as well.
Yes. So that will do it for us here at the Rolling With series. Remember to check out the other video that goes with this, the Board Game Theater, where I perform the flavor text of Dominion Intrigue. And hope you enjoy that. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling With 2, that's TWO. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And that'll do it for us. And we've been Rolling with Dominion.